Taoiseach, Action Aid recently published a report about Ireland's involvement in financing fossil fuels and environmentally damaging agribusiness in the Global South. It found that investment managers registered in Ireland hold an incredible $6.2 billion in bonds and shares attributable to fossil fuels and agribusiness in the Global South. The top 6 investments are in oil and gas companies. How is that compatible with Ireland's emissions and climate finance commitments? We cannot continue to donate paltry levels of climate finance to the Global South on the one hand, while funneling billions of environmentally destructive investments with the other. Will you commit to reviewing the 2018 Fossil Fuel Divestment Act to broaden its scope to include fossil fuel use, not just exploration, and to ensure so-called indirect investments through financial derivatives, hedge funds, etc. are included? The Act also needs to have a much broader scope beyond just the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund. It should be applied to all private finance flows from the thousands of banks and funds that are based here in tax haven Ireland.
Taoiseach, please.
Thank deputies for their questions. I agree with Deputy Sullivan. Good school transport systems certainly have a role in reducing emissions if they reduce the length of journeys, and of course if they reduce the number of journeys by car. Ideally we'll have electric buses and hydrogen buses, and we're very much moving to that model at the moment. Had the pleasure to visit Right Bus in Ballymena, where they're making electric buses and hydrogen buses as we speak, and are phasing out the production of internal combustion engine buses, and great to see that happening on the island of Ireland. Of course, another thing that can also help reduce emissions is people going to their nearest school, because therefore you're more likely to be able to walk or to cycle, which is the most climate efficient way of travelling, or if you can't and have to go by car, it'll be a shorter journey. So I think that needs to be borne in mind as well in any debate. But in terms of the general issue of the problems that people are facing with school transport coming up all over the country, very much being fed back to me from constituency offices, I know Minister Foley is a praise and sees the situation, and she is working hard to find solutions. Just in relation to Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions, which were mentioned by some deputies, I think that when we examine them, we should also look at our emissions on a per capita basis. And Ireland's population has increased considerably in the last 10 or 20 years. And if you look at the graph of our emissions per capita versus our total emissions, we're doing a bit better than maybe we think. Of course, with a rising population, with more people, you're going to have more emissions. If our population had been stable or falling, as it is in many other countries, we'd be doing much better. And I'm not someone who ever believes in preaching our self-righteousness when it comes to climate action. We are behind where we need to be in terms of the objectives we set for ourselves, and the UK arguably is doing better. They've reduced their emissions more than us, notwithstanding Prime Minister Sunak's recent policy changes. It was easier for them to do so. They had a lot of heavy industry and they were able to turn that off. Tricky for us given the way our economy is structured. But I did say in 2017, in my very first speech as Taoiseach in this House, that I wanted Ireland to go from being a laggard to a leader on climate. We're definitely not a laggard anymore. All of the independent bodies that do league tables and rate us and score us now accept that we're much more somewhere around mid-table. But I want us to be a leader, and I think that can be done in the years ahead. On climate finance, I haven't read the report that Deputy Murphy refers to. I do want to reiterate, though, we have made a very substantial commitment to climate finance made by Micheál Martin as Taoiseach. It will be over €250 million a year, and that is a not inconsiderable contribution, because climate finance is such an important part of the solution. The change that's going to have to happen, the system change, the revolution that's going to have to happen, has to be funded and needs bond markets. And that's why Ireland can make a contribution to it. One thing we will examine as part of the establishment of our future Ireland Fund, and that's the new sovereign wealth fund that we're establishing, is an ethical framework around what it does and does not invest in. And that will, of course, have to take into account fossil fuel production. But I would say in relation to the management of private finance here in Ireland, a lot of that is just managed here. And those funds would just be managed somewhere else. I don't think moving them offshore would actually have an appreciable benefit for the environment.
Thank you, Taoiseach.